I think these people have forgotten something fundamental about the founding of our country, and that is that our country was supposed to be up for and by the people. It was supposed to be run by the will of the people. The government works for the people. The people are not the subjects of the government. I think they have forgotten that, and it's very much time for people to remind them of that. And that's why it was a good thing last week in Virginia and in other places around the country where people really stood up. And, we have a government right now that, for instance, says, we're going to make these mandates about the vaccine. And the federal court says, no, we think that's not right. Well, let's put a hold on that. And our federal government says, we don't care about what they have to say. Yes, go ahead. We're going to go ahead with these mandates anyway. And isn't that the reason that John Adams said of our government, it was designed for a moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate for any other? Maybe we have that any other right now.
Yeah, amen to that. The American Medical Association, in the meantime, released a guide on advancing health equity, promoting these racist teachings from critical race theory. Dr. Carson, how dangerous is it for doctors or medical professionals to swap out science for this notion of equity?
Well, that's probably the reason that so many doctors have dropped out of the AMA. They have a minority of physicians who belong to it now. They've become woke a long time before woke was popular. And I wish they would indeed be the examples of how we lead by looking at the science, looking at the information, looking at the data that we have. And it's very disappointing to see them moving off in this political direction, particularly when we're dealing with the health care of people. Your health is by far the most important thing that you have. And if we start messing with that, what else aren't we going to mess with? And I hope people are recognizing what's going on and recognize that in America, if we're going to have liberty, if we're going to be free, it is going to be up to the people. It will not be up to the government or government entities, because they do what government entities do. They grow, they infiltrate, and they dominate. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that that's what governments do. And that's why we have a constitution that arms the people with the ability to control the government.
Yep, you brought up the question about what government, what won't they do? Well, now they're getting involved in between parents and their children, and parents are rising up all over the country to oppose the left's hate whitey precepts taught in this critical race theory and the programs developed from CRT. Now, aside from rejecting Dr. King's vision of a colorblind society, in your mind, how dangerous is this hate-filled program to be teaching to kids and to government employees? And should the American taxpayers be forced to fund it?
It is extraordinarily dangerous. If you want to fundamentally change a country, and there are those who want to fundamentally change us, you have to first create a desire for change. So you have to create a lot of chaos, and you have to drive wedges between the people on the basis of race, income, age, sex, religion, political affiliation, whatever, and try to say that the system is corrupt, it's systemically racist, and therefore we need to change it. So there is an agenda there. I do believe that the American people are smart enough to see what's going on, or at least a lot of them are. And those are the people who I believe are going to make the difference and will determine whether we continue to be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, or we turn into a socialist state.
Well, from your lips to God's ears. Last question I have for you. I want you to put your medical hat back on. And Joe Biden's mental acuity has become an issue, has actually been an issue throughout the campaign and into his first year of his occupation of the Oval Office. Let me just ask you, as a medical professional, your evaluation of Mr. Biden as you've watched his mannerisms, and do you think it's acceptable that he's not had a mental capacity test at this point, even after President Trump had already done so during his administration?
Well, certainly when you're in a position like that, it would be, I think, comforting to everybody to have one. You know, my dear mother died with Alzheimer's, and what I see is so similar. But obviously, he needs to have an appropriate clinical evaluation by an objective medical source.
Dr. Benjamin Carson, as I said, it's always an honor to speak with you, sir. Don't let it be too long before you get back here to the Chris Salcedo Show. I appreciate the visit.
Hi, Rob Carson here. If you love watching Newsmax, you're really going to love listening to our new podcast. It's called the Newsmax Daily. I host it, and I give you the best briefing of the big news of the day, top newsmaker interviews, and even, yes, a few laughs. I know it's hard to believe. So if you're driving, walking, exercising, just about anywhere, you can connect with the Newsmax Daily with me, Rob Carson. Find our podcast online or go to iPhone, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, and more, and start listening today.